Oha! It is my 21st birthday. Do you think perhaps just once I might use the bathroom by myself?
Most amusing, sir.
Wipers!
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where each week we enter the world of a great film. We explore its themes, the history, the filmmaking, and the influence it has on us today. My name is Steve Morris. I'm a filmmaker and directing instructor in Los Angeles, California.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Roca. I'm a voiceover artist, host, writer, and producer over at Collider Video, and of course on the iTunes for the top 10. We are now our own feed, Steve. We have separated from the Schmoes. No.
Whoa.
You can sign up at Cine-Files or subscribe. The top 10. There you go. I'm doing that now.
You know what we should do? Let's put it on the Cine-Files website too. I don't know that people go there, but let's put a link to the new top 10 feed.
That's very kind.
And we should also put it on the Cine-Files Facebook page, because we want to make sure that everyone who wants to find it can find it.
Okay.
Yes, this is a big move.
It is a big move. You can put a link to our live show in Chicago for tickets. That'd be nice too. So
Sure, we'll do all of those things.
Reggie's live. Yeah.
I didn't know you had a place for it yet.
We do. Reggie's live. Two shows that night.
And when is it?
April 11th, the week of Star Wars Celebration in Chicago.
My wife's birthday.
Oh, perfect. We're doing two shows.
I don't know why that's perfect. It's
Well, because it's something to celebrate.
and my wife just walked in. And I am very excited today, and I think you are even more excited to talk about one of your favorite films,
Yes.
Eddie Murphy, Coming to America.
Oh, wipers! I love this movie to pieces. It is my favorite Eddie Murphy movie by far. And it is, I think, the greatest of his first three films. And the most
It is not. It is not one of his first three films.
Isn't it?
No.
But Beverly Hills Cop, 48 Hours, and then Coming to America. What's in between there?
48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills.
Oh, I
Cop,
forgot about Trading Places.
Golden Child. That was before.
Whatever.
And I think there might be one other.
What? It's not Vampire in Brooklyn. I know that.
Beverly Hills Cop 2.
That's before
That's 87.
Coming to America.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let me correct myself and say this is the pinnacle of Eddie Murphy's career, in my opinion.
So let me ask you. Do you know how you first came to Eddie Murphy? Let's start there.
Oh yeah. Here's how I first came to Eddie Murphy. There was a kid when we moved to Virginia, or moved to this kind of southern city of Virginia, Dale City, which I grew up in. There was this kid. We were friends. I used to ride my bike over to his house, and we would hang out and listen to music. His parents were never home. We'd listen to music, blah, blah, blah. He got this cassette of Eddie Murphy, Delirious. Eddie Murphy, and we played that thing on a loop on his cassette. I'd never heard jokes like that. I'd never heard anybody cuss like that, and it taught me how to cuss. Eddie Murphy taught me how to cuss from having listened to that whole thing. That's the barbecue jokes. The whole nine was all that.
Well, I think we owe him a debt of gratitude just for teaching you how to cuss.
I agree.
For me, it was Saturday Night Live. So I was a huge Saturday Night Live fan because I'm a few years older than you.
I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Yeah, and I really judged my growing up by how late I could stay up. So first I could stay up to watch The Love Boat. Then I could stay up to watch Fantasy Island.
Nice.
And then there was this time where I could stay up and watch Saturday Night Live.
Nice.
And it was right. I think I started seeing reruns, which they would play of the older cast. But then it was probably right as it was getting really bad, 79, 80, 81, that I was able to stay up. And I remember when Eddie Murphy started on Saturday Night Live. And I really think, by the way, that we would not have Saturday Night Live today if it wasn't for Eddie Murphy.
1,000,000%.
Because you have the original cast, and it's a huge hit, and then the original cast kind of leaves, and then we kind of have the halfway cast, and then we have some other people, and Lorne Michaels is gone, and I think if Eddie Murphy doesn't come on, we don't go, oh, this is a new cast can come on. The idea that this can keep going. And I think we talked about Robin Williams a while ago, and for me, Robin Williams was the funniest person in the world.
Yeah.
And that Eddie Murphy replaced him for me as the funniest person in the world.
Fair.
I thought him on Saturday Night Live, and that's, I'm Gumby, damn it.
Yeah.
And Buckwheat. And
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Kill My Landlord.
CILL, My Landlord.
Oh, that's Tyrone Green. And Mr. Those are such great characters.
Yeah.
And he was such a mimic. And it's funny. So I have a little biographical information on him. So he's born in 1961 in Brooklyn. His parents split when he was 3, and his dad died. I think he was killed when he was 8, like stabbed. And then his mom became ill, and then he went off into the foster child world, I think with his brother, and that really shaped him. And maybe the thing that shaped him the most was seeing Richard Pryor when he was 15. And also when he's 15, he does his first stand-up. And I think he's on Saturday Night Live when he's like 19.
Yeah, 19 years old.
Really young. And he just explodes onto the scene, comes on a 48 Hours, which I haven't watched it in a really long time. I love that movie.
Good movie.
And he totally steals the show. Then does Trading Places, which I love.
Yes, very
and then does my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, which is Beverly Hills Cop. And what's interesting, and then he is the biggest star in the world, you know, and this is also my sort of theory of where it comes from, of that comedians become the top and they actually only usually make around 4 really good movies.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America. And then after Coming to America, it kind of goes downhill.
Yeah, the record gets real spotty after that.
Yeah. Until he finds animation.
Right.
You know, and then he does some things like Bowfinger and, you know, a few other, and of course doing the Clumps, doing the Nutty Professor films. That's where he has a bit of a resurgence, and doing Dreamgirls later on. But like from that era, from 80 to 88, there's nothing bigger than Eddie Murphy. Do you remember how you first saw Coming to America?
Yeah, in the theater.
Me too.
I went to see with my best friend Maurice. We went to go see this thing. Jim probably came with us too. We were all 3 best friends right on that time, and just sat there and laughed my ass off at the genius of it all. How just the brilliance of this film, and how confident Eddie was with this comedy. And this fish in essence, this fish kind of out of water story, trying to figure out, trying to, you know, not be part of an arranged marriage and trying to find love. Yeah. And that was great. With Arsenio. It was my first exposure to Arsenio, I think, as well.
I am amazed at Arsenio in this movie, that he goes fairly toe-to-toe with Eddie Murphy, particularly playing all those characters. Like, I don't think he had the career that maybe he has such a weird career.
Became a talk show host. He was successful as hell, man.
Sure, but like I look, he was not a very good interviewer. He's not the best talk show host.
No, he was just, but he was.
He has a lot of personality.
He did.
But I go like watching what he does in this movie. I'm like, why didn't he do more of this? But I saw it in the theater too. I thought it was hilarious. I watched it over and over and over again. I saw it maybe 10 years ago and then saw it in the last week.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I had watched it.
Okay.
You look at me suspiciously.
Yeah, I want to see if because you hadn't seen it in so long. Did watching it again, did you laugh? Did you enjoy it? Or did you think it was a bit dated?
It is dated. I totally enjoyed it.
Good.
I totally enjoyed it.
This will be a good episode then.
It still is not I still like Beverly Hills Cop more. Okay. But I had some interesting epiphanies about it, which we'll kind of get into. So a little pre-production. Eddie says this was his idea. And if you look at the credit, it says story by Eddie Murphy. Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit later.
John Landis disagrees.
Well, not just John Landis.
Oh.
There's a whole lawsuit we'll get into.
Right, that's right.
And he says he called up John Landis and pitched the idea, and that it's funny. Apparently, and they gave the movie to David Sheffield and Barry Blasting, who are the writers. And Eddie says he hired Landis. He kind of wanted to throw him a bone. I'm going to say that in 1988, Eddie Murphy's ego was large.
Oh, not just 88, pal.
And there's a moment, of course, Landis was really instrumental early in his career because he hired him for Trading Places.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so there's a moment on the set. It's funny, when you see Landis interviewed about Eddie Murphy, he is very diplomatic.
Yes, he is.
I think there was a lot of conflict on the set, and he sort of downplays it and kind of says, oh, you know, it was still a great experience. I'm still really proud of the movie.
Right.
And there's one moment where Eddie came up to Landis and said, you treat me like you treat everyone else. To which Landis' response is, well, isn't that a good thing? And for Eddie, the answer would be, no. You're supposed to treat me like Eddie Murphy.
I'm the star.
Here's what Eddie Murphy said about John Landis.
Oh, boy.
He said, we had a tussling confrontation. We didn't come to blows. Personalities didn't mesh. He directed me in Trading Places when I was just starting out as a kid, but he was still treating me like a kid 5 years later during Coming to America. And I hired him to direct the movie. I was going to direct Coming to America myself, but I knew that Landis had just done 3 fucked up pictures in a row and that his career was hanging by a thread after the Twilight Zone trial. I figured the guy was nice to me when I did Trading Places, so I give him a shot. I was going out of my way to help this guy, and he fucked me over. Now he's got a hit picture on his resume, a movie that made him over $200 million as opposed to him coming off a couple of fucked up movies, which is where I'd rather see him be right now.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Whew, creativity, man.
Well, and this is also, I think, becoming the biggest thing in the world. That is not good for people.
Yeah.
That is a very unhealthy thing to have happen to you.
Well, Eddie's always had an ego.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at that, like 15 years old, he's already doing stand-up. What kind of guts it takes to already be doing it at 15 years old. And then 4 years later, you are like a national phenomenon on Saturday Night Live. Like that, and all that is driven by a deep desire and belief in yourself.
Well, and then the world confirms the fact that you can apparently do no wrong. You are awesome. Would you like to get into the film?
Let's do this.
We start with Lady Smith, Black Mumbaza.
Yeah.
Singing a version of Lion Sleeps Tonight, which is Mbube, is its African name. Sure. Lady Smith, Black Mumbaza was very big in the late 80s after Paul Simon. I love the sound. Yeah. I listened to that Graceland album over and over and over and over again.
He got so much shit for that too. Overall, Paul Simon did as this went along. So
yeah,
lot of creativity division going on around the 80s. Yeah, a lot of anger going on.
And we go past the Paramount Mountain into Africa, down through the clouds, over the forest, and towards a beautiful castle with elephants going around. And it seems very much like a fairy tale castle. And that's when we see our story by Eddie Murphy credit. And we see Oha walking through the ballroom into Eddie Murphy's chambers, and there's an orchestra getting set up, and you're going, what is happening here? And he conducts them, and they play, and the camera tilts down to see Akeem Eddie Murphy in bed, because this is his alarm clock.
That's right.
That's how you wake up when you are the prince of Zamunda. Eddie wakes up very, very peacefully. And in come some women with the flowers. The flower bearers are waiting because that's also how we roll in Zamunda.
Good morning, Your Highness. Good morning, Your Highness.
Happy birthday, Your Highness.
Yes, it is my birthday.
They put shoes out for him, robe, claps for the flower girls, opens up some doors, and there's the toilet. And what does Akeem ask?
Wipers?
Well, Keem actually asked if he could, it's his 21st birthday. Can he please wipe his own bottom?
Yeah, wipe his own bottom.
No.
Oha laughs at that.
Yeah, I love Wipers. I mean, I think Wipers sets the tone of jokes for this movie from beginning. And then we're in the bath. There's a beautiful naked woman bathing him. And he's sitting quite serenely, a very peaceful, happy expression on his face. And then a woman rises up from under the water and says,
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Here's the thing.
Yeah. Talk to me, Steve.
There's this era, I would say from Animal House until maybe 1990 or so, where comedy and sexual jokes and female nudity are linked.
Yes.
In a way that 11-year-old till 21-year-old Steve thought was awesome.
Sure.
Looking at it now, maybe not as much.
Well, but would 11 to 21-year-old kid still think it was awesome? Probably. Nowadays, probably.
Would a 11-year-old or girl or her mom think this is awesome?
Probably not.
Maybe
And
not.
they probably didn't back then either.
Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Akeem is in a polo outfit, and we talk about how excited he should be because it's his 21st birthday, and he's going to meet his wife.
Yeah.
And he says,
Well, I'm curious, but how can a man get excited about a woman he's never seen?
and now we get the first inkling of what the problem is going to be.
Yeah.
We go to breakfast, and there we meet James Earl Jones. Originally, they wanted Sidney Poitier to play this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could see that.
He'd be great.
Yeah.
He'd be great.
But that voice of James.
God, I love James Earl Jones. He was doing Fences at the time.
Oh, shit.
I saw him in Fences. It was one of the greatest theater experiences I ever had in my entire life.
So, real quick, Lindley my girlfriend worked at Boston Court Theater and pretty much saw all the August Wilson things while they were in development.
Wow.
And she talks about Fences and the two plays before Fences as well that she saw as they were creating them. And she said, life-changing experience.
I think I've seen probably 4 of those in the theater, and they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Turner Coming Down, Gone, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Right.
Those plays are amazing. And Fences the most, like, I'm being in the theater and having James Earl Jones up on stage was just talk about blowing your hair back.
You want to add this to the Cine-Files Facebook page? That there's a YouTube clip of him doing that scene with Denzel, where Denzel's the young kid.
Really?
Yeah. They go back and forth about it. I don't owe you nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, he didn't want to play the part.
Portier didn't.
No, James Earl Jones.
Wow.
He wanted the John Amos part. He thought that was the funnier part.
Certainly the funnier part.
And Landis like, no, we need the king.
Yeah.
You got to be the king.
You're the king.
So we're having breakfast. The queen is Madge Sinclair, who I think's great in this.
Yeah,
There's a little joke with a royal taster, and we're looking at a huge table with Akeem at one end and them at the other. They think he looks sad, so they call him on the intercom. They can't even see him past the big centerpiece. Yeah. And Akeem starts to answer on the intercom, and then oh my God, he decides to get up and walk towards them. The flower bearers were unprepared. Yes. They have to run to catch up.
His bold move.
His bold move. And he finally gets up there, and the king notices that he's grown a mustache, apparently a year ago. So they don't spend a lot of time together.
Right.
And he's not happy. He's not happy about the rose petals. And the king goes, well, you're the son of a king. Why shouldn't you have rose petals? And he goes, well, I'd still be the son of a king if I didn't have rose petals.
Then it is settled. From this day forth, anyone who throws roses at my son's feet will answer to me.
I love the reaction of the rose bearers as they realize, and they back quickly out of the room.
Start run out.
And it goes off on everything. It's the pampering, the bathing. Well, actually, I rather enjoy the bathing. And the biggest thing, of course, is why can't I find my own wife?
Aha! So that's it. We've gone to a great deal of trouble to select for you a very fine wife. Since the day she was born, she was taught to walk and speak and think as a queen.
But Father, what if I do not love her?
You will learn to love her.
Yeah. Apparently, his parents were terrified of each other.
Yeah.
The queen describes, nausea.
So, you see, my son, there is a very fine line between love and nausea.
And then in comes Simi.
Yeah. Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall, who is great. This is really his first movie. He has a little part in Amazon Women on the Moon.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Good sketch.
He was doing the voice on the Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, shit.
I think.
Of Winston?
I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting.
I just saw it in his IMDb.
Okay.
And what they say is, had the studio had any idea his part was so big, they never would have let him be in this movie.
Oh.
Yeah, because he's a nobody. I mean, no one's ever heard of him.
Maybe Eddie wrote the part bigger as it was going
I'm
along.
sure that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And they go off to do some fight training.
Now let's see if you can defend yourself. You sweat from a baboon's balls. So you say you can have a woman who'll obey your every command, but you'd rather have a woman who has an opinion?
Only dogs are to obey. If you truly love your wife, you will value her opinion.
And in between their moves and in between switching back and forth with the stunt doubles who are doing like 10 back springs and laid out flips and all that stuff. And because Semi is just sort of...
Hippopotamus shit! You're the heir to the throne of Zamunda. Your wife need only have a pretty face, a firm backside, and big breasts like cassava melon.
So that's what he wants.
So you would share your bed and your fortune with a beautiful fool.
That is the way it has always been with men of power. It is tradition.
It is also tradition that times must and always do change, my friend.
Well, that's what he thinks. But we're still going into a big, huge party. And man, there are elephants there.
Yep.
There are hundreds of people in costumes. And the costumes are really pretty amazing. This is Deborah Noodleman, who did Animal House, Blues Brothers, and Trading Places. So she did all the John Landis films.
Wow.
She also did Raiders of the Lost Ark. And she was fascinated with African fabrics and clothing since she was a kid. She did like her thesis in college on the history of these fabrics and clothes. It sounds like she really was the right person for this job. And what she did, what was so hard to do, was to combine truly African fabrics and techniques of draping and all that stuff with this royal world that doesn't really exist in this way. And it's sort of half African and half the British royal family, inspired by the day at the races from My Fair Lady. That's what she was going for, with big hats and all that stuff.
Right.
And the costumes are really great. And in comes this kind of colonel, and he says, "I'm proud to present my daughter." And then we hear, excuse me, and this huge woman comes through, and there's a reaction from
of course,
from Eddie Murphy in Arsenio Hall. And then it ends up she's announcing the bride, and then we have a huge dance number. You know, John Landis has done a lot of dance numbers, because the last movie we did of his was Blues Brothers.
That's right.
And he has a new choreographer for this dance number,
Paul Abdul,
who was huge in the mid to late 80s as a choreographer.
Yes, she was.
And I think a good choreographer.
Yes, she's a fantastic choreographer. I would say, and I don't care what anybody says, J-Lo is ridiculous compared to Paul Abdul's dancing, singing, and choreography. She can have the acting, but Paul Abdul's choreography, singing, and dancing were always so much more artistic than I love Paula, and she deserves more respect and love for the work she did through all this time. And I think she's one of the dancers. I'm not sure. But
really?
I think she's one of the dancers.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. And it's a big, huge dance numbers with African music. And we should say the composer is Nile. I just drew a blank on his
Rodgers?
Nile Rodgers. And man, he has an interesting history.
Oh, yeah. Nile is great.
Juilliard trained musician who then is huge in disco with Chic.
Yep.
And
the Freak.
And Sister Sledge. And then he produces Madonna's first album, produces Let's Dance for David Bowie, produces Diana Ross, produces all these big acts. And he has to do a lot of heavy lifting, because he has to do very African music. Yeah. He has to do classical music. He has to do hip hop. He has to do the Soul Glow song.
The best.
Which is awesome. And so after the dance number, Oha breaks into
She's Your Queen to Be. Oh, it's the best.
She's your queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who'll do whatever His Highness desires.
It's the best.
Apparently he did that was his idea. He did it in the improv.
It worked.
I mean, in the audition, and they went, "Okay, you got the part." The song is crazy. Some of the lyrics are
completely free from infection, to be used at your discretion, waiting only for your direction.
You know what's funny though is that this is, although they're making jokes about this stuff, it is the message is this is fucked up.
Yes.
That is what the message is.
That's the inherent thing about the film.
Yeah.
So whatever your issues are, this is like it doesn't represent or it makes women objects. Yes, but we have no film if Akeem doesn't want to change this tradition.
Right.
So this tradition must exist so that Akeem can change it. Yeah.
Right. And it does, it doesn't agree with Semi and the king,
right,
who think this is all awesome.
Exactly.
And Akeem is definitely not happy with this whole thing and asked to talk to her for a minute in private, which is completely breaking the rules.
Right.
They go off in private. There's a little sight gag with the long train.
Oh, right.
And what I was thinking that's really interesting about this film is that if you look at the previous Eddie Murphy films, it's him walking in and Eddie Murphying it up. It's him, 48 Hours is a detective show, a buddy movie where Eddie Murphy brought all this comedy. It wasn't structured as a comedy. Beverly Hills Cop was a vehicle for Sylvester Stallone.
Right, originally.
So it was supposed to be an action movie.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Murphy brings all the comedy. Trading Places, he's improvising a ton of stuff. Eddie Murphy in Coming to America is largely the straight man.
He is a mature actor in this movie. This is where Eddie becomes serious Eddie. This is the moment that he changes from, look at me, I want to get successful, to I am a star.
Well, and the comedy, our bits are all happening around him.
Yes.
He is not actually generating most of the comedy in the film.
Akeem has almost no jokes in the film. It is when Eddie's dressed up as the barber or the Jewish guy.
That's where he goes full on.
That's when he does, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, what he wants to know is he wants to know who she is.
Ever since I was born, I've been trained to serve you.
Yes, I know this. But I would like to know about you. What do you like to do?
Whatever you like.
And I love his line.
Look, I know what I like. And I know you know what I like because you were trained to know what I like. But I would like to know what you like. For instance, do you have a favorite food?
Yes.
Good! What is your favorite food?
Whatever food you like.
And then it gets really rough because she's, basically programmed to obey him. So he has her bark like a dog.
Yep. Hop on one leg.
No, a big dog.
Yeah.
No, an orangutan. So now she's hopping on one leg, making monkey noises. Yeah. And that's when everyone else comes in and she just hops her way out.
Yeah.
And now Dad wants to go talk to him. So they take a walk past the baby elephants and giraffes, and a zebra goes by.
I love this.
It's very... the vision of Africa in this movie is... I don't think it's offensive, but I think it is ridiculous.
Sure. Yeah, well, because it's comedy.
It's a comedy. Yeah. He's talking to Dad, and he's just like, I'm not sure I'm ready. And then Dad's worried. He's like, well, son,
I know we never had to talk about this, but I always assumed that you had sex with your bathers. I know I do.
And he's like, no, I'm 21. I've never left Zamunda. I've never gone into the outside world. I need to see what it has to offer. And he goes, oh, you want to sow your royal oats. And now Dad's on board. Great. Go enjoy yourself. Dad is obsessed with sex.
Dad loves it.
You're right. Get out, see the world, enjoy yourself, fulfill every erotic desire, and in 40 days, you will come back and marry Imani.
But Father...
It is settled.
Which isn't exactly what Akeem was saying.
No, but he'll take it.
And we go back to the party, and he says,
The wedding will proceed in 40 days. You may go home now. Good night. Oha, prepare the royal baggage. My son is going on a trip.
Can I tell you the crazy thought I had?
Sure.
So Zamunda is a fictitious African country that is apparently the richest country of the world because of their diamond mines, and they have incredible mineral rights. Zamunda is Wakanda.
Yeah.
This is Wakanda. And they're like, everything is perfect and idealized there. Like, I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
It's Wakanda. It's comedy Wakanda.
When I was watching Black Panther, I was like, wait a minute. So you wonder if Eddie had, or whoever had this idea, if they had read the Black Panther comic books and had gotten this idea. I wonder. Yeah.
Well, and Akeem is a badass.
Right.
You know?
He is. Look at his fighting skills.
Yeah.
Flipping around, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
He's Black Panther.
He could be. This is Eddie auditioning for Black Panther.
Oh my God. And he tells Semi, and Semi's all thrilled. Excellent.
This trip is an excellent idea. 40 days of fornication.
Because he's on the same page as the king.
Right.
Like, he wants to sow his royal oats.
Right.
But that's not what Akeem wants.
Simi, I have something else in mind. Tell no one of this. I intend to find my bride.
What is wrong with the one you have now? When you saw her tell me you did not want to rip her clothes off right then and there.
I want a woman that's going to arouse my intellect as well as my loins.
And so they get out a globe and they go, let's go to America. Where should we go? LA or New York? Pick New York. Where in New York would you find a bride? A culturally sophisticated, perfect woman. Where better than
Queens?
Cut to the airport.
Oh.
Big flag. They're walking out in their outfits, followed by
The flowers. Aren't the flowers? No, what are they followed by?
tons and tons of luggage.
Yeah.
They did not actually bring the flower bearers because the flower bearers are forbidden to put flowers at their feet.
Yes.
And he steps right out of the street, says, halt.
Halt!
You dumb fuck!
Take us to Queens at once.
And the cab driver's like, doesn't you rich guys like you want to go to the Waldorf Astoria or the Palace? And Sammy's like, Palace, that sounds good. It's like, no, take us somewhere common. Oh, well, there are lots of common places in Queens.
You know who that is, dude, right?
No.
Body by Jake. That's the Body by Jake guy.
Oh,
Yeah, if you remember,
funny.
for you old people, Body by Jake, because Jake was a guy who like pitched. I think he was an actor / comedian, and he pitched this whole Body by Jake system that he sold, and it was a big physical fitness phenomenon for a while.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We end up in Queens. Again, the music is great. And man, they went to some rough parts of town.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're looking around and they're seeing the guys, with the fire in the garbage can and people throwing their garbage in the street. And Akeem loves it. Mm-hmm. Semi hates it.
This shit ain't enough for you.
Yes, this is perfect.
And they go outside, and then the first thing we hear is the sounds coming out of the barbershop.
Right.
These are the funniest scenes in the movie.
Greatest scenes in the movie.
Listen, real Americans.
Pound for pound, Sugar Ray Robinson, the greatest fighter ever lived.
Oh, come on, man. What about Joe Louis?
The Brown Bomber. Now that was a great boxer.
You damn right.
I suppose nobody in here ever heard of Cassius Clay.
We got a point. Cassius Clay was a bad motherfucker.
They are so great. And this is Rick Baker doing the makeup. Mm-hmm. And this was a revelation for Eddie Murphy because he didn't know that it was really possible to completely transform him.
Right.
And I mean, he's an incredible mimic, an incredible character creator anyway. But being able to, the Jewish guy is astounding.
I'm just saying, I stopped liking Cassius Clay once he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. What kind of shit is that?
Wait a second. A man has the right to change his name to whatever he wants to change it to. And if a man wants to be called Muhammad Ali, God damn it, this is a free country. You should respect his wishes and call the man Muhammad Ali.
Well, and you saw a sample of this on SNL when he played the white guy.
That sketch is one of the most brilliant sketches in the history of Saturday Night Live.
Period. And still resonates in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Just take the paper. Take it. So there's all where he goes through life, what it's like to spend a day as a white guy the whole time. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, it is I'll put it up on.
Please do.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the Facebook page.
Such a funny
really
sketch.
good. And they go to look at an apartment, and there's Frankie Faison.
Yeah, Frankie Faison.
Seen him in lots of stuff.
By the way, Eddie was, and people need to know this, Eddie Murphy was vigilant. Once he was able to control his sets, he was very vigilant about having a lot of African Americans, black people on the sets, working on his movies or being characters in his movies. Very adamant that they were part of his movies. Yet, you don't consider Eddie Murphy's films black movies.
Well, that's what's interesting.
That's what's incredible about him.
I think this movie in particular, this is really not only a movie about African characters, but it's entirely in a African or African American world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a big deal about it.
Nope.
That's why, and it's I think this kind of a movie steps things forward a huge way.
Agreed.
Agreed. In a weird, similar way to things we talked about with Big Trouble in Little China, is that there's a movie where suddenly you're casting all these actors that maybe haven't gotten to work and casting them in all sorts of different kinds of roles.
Yep.
And what do they want from Frankie Faison? They want meager accommodations. So they flash a big roll of money and say, give us meager accommodations. Oh, he'll get them for it. And he says, okay, you're going to have to share this bathroom.
A little bit of an insect problem, but you boys from Africa, you're used to that.
It's horrible.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on it.
These are the jokes.
These are the jokes. Eddie's in it. Can't say shit.
As Cine-Files, we are merely stating what the jokes are.
Yep.
There's some that are going to get a lot worse. But they're meant, but here's the thing about them. That's meant to be insulting and horrible. We're not supposed to like that joke.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because he's a bad guy.
We're supposed to go like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
And then he shows them to their room, which not only has the chalk outline of the body, of the human body and blood on the walls, but the chalk outline of the dog.
Damn shame what they did to that dog.
Shame what they did to that dog.
Yeah. And what does Akeem think? Perfect. Yeah. He goes out on the fire escape. He loves this. This is what he's wanted. This is real life.
Behold, Simi, life, real life, a thing that we have been denied for far too long. Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, fuck you! Yes! Fuck you too!
And Semi, again, great reaction. This is the thing. It's like, it's hard to describe, and this is maybe where the Cine-Files does the least good job because so much comedy is reaction shots.
Yeah.
And that the reaction shot from Semi at this moment is hilarious.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it's hilarious, but I can't show you because you only hear the beautiful sound of our voice. And on the street, they see a whole bunch of people stolen all their clothes.
Yep.
And some guy tries to sell them some toothbrushes, some gold toothbrushes.
And Semi's like, that's our stuff.
But he doesn't care.
No.
He doesn't care. And he wants to dress like New Yorkers. So they go get some New Yorker clothes.
Some touristy New Yorker clothes.
Super touristy. They're going to end up in nicer clothes later.
Yeah.
And then what do they see? In a window, on a TV screen, through the glass, a commercial for Soul Glow.
Yeah. Just let your soul glow.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow, baby. Feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow.
Soul Glow. Again, Nile Rodgers.
Oh, great stuff.
It's great. And this is, of course, a reference to Jerry Curl, which I went and did a little research.
Ooh.
It was invented by a hairdresser named Jerry Redding.
Okay.
And Jerry Curl, look, I'm not going to get into the politics of African American hair, but it is considerable.
Yes.
And certainly Jerry Curl is right in there.
Yeah. And ironically, Nile had Jerry Curl in the 70s.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, and if you want to see a documentary about about hair in the black community, Chris Rock did a fantastic documentary about that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but you got to find it. It's good.
It's it's really good.
Yeah.
It is a fascinating thing, which as a white Jewish kid, I knew nothing about until I was in college. Yeah. It was when I did, because I did that play about race relations and it was in developing that I started to learn like, oh, there's all this stuff that I did not, I didn't know about. And they're back in the barbershop. No, they're still talking about boxers. Now they're talking about Mike Tyson. And this is where you get that great story of Joe Louis, who apparently fought Rocky Marciano when he was 71. Rocky Marciano.
Everybody got to bring up one white guy. Oh, we got to say Rocky Marciano.
Let me tell you something wonderful. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit.
He beat Joe Louis's ass.
That's right, he did whoop Joe Louis' ass. Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought. I don't know how old he was, but he got his ass whooped. Joe Louis had come out of retirement to fight Rocky Marciano. The man was 76 years old. Joe Louis always lied about his age. He lied about his age all the time. One time, Frank Sinatra comes out here and sat down in this chair. And I said, Frank, you hang out with Joe Louis. Just between me and you, how old is Joe Louis? You know what Frank told me? He said, hey, Joe Louis is 137 years old. 137 years old.
Oh, man, you ain't never meet no Frank Sinatra.
Fuck you! Fuck you and fuck you! Who's next?
I could watch Eddie Murphy do these characters forever.
My God, if this was the whole movie, I would have been happy as hell.
They're so great.
Yeah.
And Arsenio's really good in it.
Arsenio gives as good as he gets.
And there's the
Completely
other guy
different character.
who's just a buddy of theirs.
Yeah.
That's the other, whose name I don't have.
Yeah, that guy never did much after that, but he is such a great compliment because A, he's actually the age they're all trying to be.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and B, it's more. They don't put any aging makeup on him. He looks natural for his age.
I assumed he was a young guy.
Oh, well, if he is, he doesn't look. They don't age him up. They age up makeup with Eddie and Arsenio. But what's great is he is a fun fodder for those two guys because he's always like, y'all don't know, y'all talking shit, y'all don't know. It's great.
And in comes Akeem and Semi because Eddie's going, this Soul Glow thing, this looks good. Maybe I should get that. And they talk him out of it.
Yeah, don't do that to your hair, son.
But he is going to cut off his royal, what is it called?
Ponytail.
His royal ponytail. If they cut him off, one snip, that'd be $8.
Is this? No, I guess not. Maybe later. Is this where you get that cameo of the famous actor who's sitting in the barber chair with him?
Oh, yes, the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, I should have mentioned it.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is the guy sitting in the barber chair.
So they as we're recording this, a couple days ago, they announced that they're going to do the sequel. It's confirmed now. They've got a script, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be that he's got a long-lost son in New York somewhere, so he has to come back to America to find him. They better go back to that damn barbershop.
Oh, yeah.
And it better be the sons of those barbers who are in that barbershop. And Cuba Gooding Jr. better still be in that barbershop. God damn, he better have a cameo in that barbershop. All right.
I think it's time to go find our queen.
Yes.
Let's go to the club.
Hey, oh, God, this is great.
This is one of the classic, we're going to sit in a chair and we're going to have one after another of crazy people go through. I don't need to go through all of them, but who are your favorites?
Certainly Arsenio and Drag is one of my favorites.
Oh my God.
At that moment, it's just brilliant.
I hope you don't mind me coming over and sitting down. But I've been watching you all evening, and I want to tear you apart. And your friend, too.
The spit take. I like the twins. The twins are funny.
We've got two twins, really, because we have the Siamese twins who were just separated.
Oh, that's right.
And you have the beatboxing twins.
The beatboxing twins. I love my beatboxing twins.
My name is Peaches, and I'm the best. All the DJs want to feel my breast.
And then who's the I forget is the bigger one who's like trying to tell him what to do or something.
Her thing is,
I can't find a man that can satisfy me. Now some guys go an hour and a half. That's it. A man's got to put in overtime for me to get off.
and then there's the one who thinks she's Joan of Arc, that's lighting herself on fire, and the one who's going to be a pop singer, maybe an actress, and she's just talking and talking and talking and talking. They're great. So that didn't go well.
No.
And their viewpoint on the women in this town have they've gone downhill a little bit. So naturally they go back to the barbershop for advice, and they tell them, no, you got to go to where you get nice women. Library, church, the Black Awareness Rally.
Black Awareness Rally.
But you know, when I look at these contestants for the Miss Black Awareness pageant, I feel good. I feel good because I know there's a God somewhere. There's a God somewhere.
Arsenio's a preacher. That's my favorite of his characters.
He's so good.
Apparently, Rick Baker based his hair on Al Sharpton.
It's perfect.
What he does.
A woman like this, I know God is good.
Which is like, you're a terrible person. Particularly, ask them to turn around.
I know, right?
Looks at their asses and says, yeah, God is good.
There's a lot of objectifying humor in this movie, that's for sure.
There's no question about
Objectification, rather.
And he is, that's a whole genre, objectification humor.
Yeah, sure.
And he kind of tries to get the crowd riled up, tries to get sort of that good time religion going in the crowd in order to introduce the musical act, Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Randy Watson.
Randy Watson.
Yeah.
Randy Watson.
And Sexual Chocolate.
Oh, my God.
And with the way he's introduced that he played some cop on some show, some random
It was like
shit.
What's Happening or something.
Yeah, There Goes My Mom. Or it was
yeah, that's what it is. Oh, my God.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful audience. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely. And while you're in the clapping mood, I'd like to give a big round of applause to my band, Sexual Chocolate.
And their rendition of Children of the Future.
Oh, and Eddie's great. Once again, showing his singing abilities in this situation.
I believe the children are our future. Thank you. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
For the first time, we see that John Amos is running some concessions, and we see his daughter Lisa, and Sexual Chocolate finishes it up with a Sexual Chocolate and mic drop.
Yeah. Sexual Chocolate!
It's the foot stomp that's the best.
Oh, my
Sexual
God.
Chocolate. The foot stomp.
And it's time for and the preacher comes back and invites up Lisa McDowell, and Keem applauds quite a bit for her as she comes up, and she waves at a guy with a beautiful Soul Glow hairstyle, Eric LaSalle.
Eric LaSalle.
It's so weird because I watched this movie a bunch in the 80s. And then I didn't watch it, and then I started watching ER.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this Eric LaSalle guy is great. And he is nothing but serious. He is 100%. The guy never cracks a smile. He is intense.
Yeah.
And then I watched Coming to America again and went, oh, because I had no idea they were the same guy.
A lot of up and coming actors in this, black actors in this movie. Yeah, as we go through it.
We're going to get, we already had Academy Award winning Cuba
Gooding Jr., right?
Probably Emmy Award winning. He must have won an Emmy, Eric LaSalle, for ER.
Yeah.
And I mean, the show was on forever.
Yeah, it was.
And we're about to get to another one. Anyway, so she makes her speech, and she's talking about, helping the park and helping the kids, and Akeem is completely sold.
Yeah.
They says we're going to pass around some collection buckets, and she likes the money that jingles, but she really likes the money that folds. Get a little sight gag with the barbers who treat it as a trash can. And then Akeem asks for some money. Simi hands him the whole billfold, and he drops it all in. The preacher also at the end gives the address of the restaurant, McDowell's. Let's go to McDowell's.
Genius.
It was built in a closed Wendy's, by the way.
Oh, what's it?
Yeah.
I think it's genius. McDowell's versus McDonald's. By the way, they open up McDowell's every Halloween, apparently, at Fat Sal's over there in Hollywood.
Oh, really?
Had no idea till this year.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. They sell Soul Glow, the whole nine.
That is hilarious. So Akeem and Semi, head over for a job, and they're going to have to sweep walkways and wash windows. And there's a guy out there taking pictures, and John Amos scares him away, and he runs. Apparently, they were really worried that McDonald's would not sign off on this.
Of course.
They were certain it wasn't going to work, and they took the thing to McDonald's. McDonald's loved it. They said, this is a great joke, and it's free publicity for us.
Yep.
And so they were totally fine with it, which is kind of amazing. And of course, John Amos is explaining, no, they're McDonald's, we're McDowell's. They, our buns don't have sesame seeds. He's talking about all the little differences. The whole concept of them just stealing McDonald's.
We have the Big Mac. They have the Big Mac.
That is just hilarious.
We got a misunderstanding.
And he walks by the grill and he flips some burgers. Those burgers were not ready to be flipped. No. It was too early to flip those burgers. Just saying.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm saying they were not cooked enough ready to flip them yet.
What do you expect from fast food, bro? I mean, it's not going to be properly cooked shit.
I expect better from McDowell's.
Oh, fair. Very fair.
And he asks Akeem if he's ready to mop, if he knows how to mop. He says, yeah, of course. Hands him the mop. He mops with the mop still in the bucket. Classic little sight gag. He is educated. And then in the office, we see Lisa working, and Akeem mops past again. And
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
I am Akeem.
It's nice to meet you, Akeem.
I have recently been placed in charge of garbage. Do you have any that requires disposal?
No, it's totally empty.
Well, when it fills up, don't be afraid to call me. I'll come take it out most urgently.
That's good to know.
When you think of garbage, think of Akeem.
It's very cute.
It is. And it's such a great change. Here's a guy who's like a prince of a country, but here he is nervous about talking to this one girl. I love it.
Well, and trying to connect with her on a way that he's never had to connect with a woman.
Right.
I mean, the women all came to him before.
Yeah.
And outside, underneath a Soul Glow billboard, we see a red, I don't know, it's a Firebird or a Trans Am or something, pull up, and
the color of freedom. Yeah.
That is a reference to our previous podcast from, I think, Shawshank Redemption Part 2.
Yes.
So if you haven't listened to that, you could jump back and know what John's referencing. And there's Daryl, Eric LaSalle, checking himself out in the mirror. He heads inside, and Cleo, which is John Amos, takes a shake off of some dude's plate and just hands it to him. We're in the back, and Daryl's talking up Dad, gives him some Jets tickets or something. Yeah. And it is very clear that John Amos really likes this guy. We don't really like this guy.
No, because we see what he's really like.
Yeah. And then she asks him a question. Lisa asked Daryl a question, which is,
The other day at the rally, somebody stuffed a large amount of cash into one of the collection boxes. You wouldn't happen to know who that was, would you?
Well,
I thought it was you.
You know me. Anything for the kids.
that is a great asshole intro.
Oh, yeah.
You're officially like, I get this guy.
Oh, I totally put all the money.
Yeah. Outside, Akeem and Simi are dealing with the garbage. Daryl asks Akeem to take care of his shake, tosses it to him, spills all over the place.
That has to have been improv. That has to have been in some
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's 2 shots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
No, I don't think it's an improv.
That's funny.
So we've established what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
We're back at the barbershop where they call Akeem Kunta Kinte.
Yes.
That's weird.
Look, it's a black actors doing another black actor. We can't talk. We can't say anything. To me, it's like, okay.
No, I disagree. I think we can say something because that joke is intentionally insensitive. The point of that joke is it's insensitive.
Okay.
Like when we'll get to later where Daryl is saying horrible things about Africa.
Oh, right. It's to make him seem like a jerk.
He's looking like an asshole.
Exactly.
Is that we're supposed to judge that joke as insensitive.
Okay.
You know? Like,
this moment, do you think it's being insensitive when he says
absolutely.
it?
Yeah. Because they don't understand anything about Africa.
The barbershop.
I mean, that's part of what's being commented on.
Okay.
I mean, the guys in the barbershop are not the smartest guys in
That's
the
what I'm
world.
saying to you. That's what I'm saying to you.
You know,
So-
it's like we're not, I don't think.
But we've seen them as comedic relief the whole film. So if they're going to make a comment.
Well, people can say something that is funny who is an idiot.
Sure.
You know, if I, you know, like, and the joke is not, isn't it funny that to call him Kunta Kinte?
Right.
The joke is that is a stupid and insulting thing. I can't believe they're calling this Prince. And they are so ignorant about what Africa is. And their only experience with Africa, the only thing they know is this name Kunta Kinte. That's what I think the joke is. You have a problem with what I'm saying now, don't you?
Not that I don't have a problem with it. I just don't agree with that that's the joke. I think the joke's intentional to be that they're dumb enough to call him Kunta Kinte, but the joke is still there that they're calling him Kunta Kinte because he's African.
No, I agree. I agree. But I don't think that.
I don't think it's meant to be intentionally insensitive.
Well, what I think is like this is this thing we talked about before. Is like, is the character insensitive or is the movie insensitive?
Right.
And I think the character is insensitive, and the movie is making a joke out of the character's insensitivity.
Okay. I don't agree, but okay.
All right.
Let's move on.
Absolutely.
We're not going to agree.
And now again, he's like, I want to get the Soul Glow because I want to get this girl. She obviously likes the Soul Glow thing, so I want to get the Soul Glow. And then we go off on a thing about Dr. King, which is completely ridiculous.
Man, you ain't met no Dr. the King.
Yeah, I met Dr. Martin Luther King in 1962 in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm walking down the street, minding my own business, just walking on, feeling good. I walk around the corner, man woke up, hit me in my chest, right? I fall on the ground, right? And I look up, it's Dr. Martin Luther King. I said, Dr. King. He said, oops, I thought you were somebody else.
I like that they call him Dr. the King.
That's my favorite when he says, you ain't met no Dr. the King.
And
I was
there's
walking around, knocked me down, said, oh, Dr. King.
And their solution is that in America, if you want to get a girl, you got to talk to the papa.
That's right.
Yeah. Their advice is not great.
I don't know. I think the way he goes about it is not great. But in the end, the
it all
advice is
works
kinda
out.
great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it kind of works out.
Well, it worked out for him to go to the Black Awareness rally.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And everyone in the barbershop agrees. And the Jewish guy goes,
Like a bird.
and so back at McDowell's, he's talking to Dad and tries to connect with him about the recent football contest.
Oh, it was most exhilarating. The Giants of New York took on the Packers of Green Bay. And in the end, the Giants triumphed by kicking an oblong ball made of pigskin to a big H. It was a most ripping victory.
It was a most ripping victory. And what's John Amos's response?
Son, I'm just gonna tell you this one time.
Yes, sir.
You want to keep working here. Stay off the drugs.
Yes.
So I love John Amos.
Of course.
He is so great.
Still alive, by the way.
And it's going to be in the sequel I read.
Yeah.
He is
Yes.
attached.
Yes.
He is attached.
He's attached.
And he is so great playing serious roles. He's fantastic in The West Wing. And but we have to remember, like, his, origin is Good Times.
Yep.
Doing comedy. And he is doing a lot in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He is acting it up.
He's very funny.
Yeah. And we also should say that the other guy working at the McDowell's is Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson.
So there are a lot of funny people in this.
Still working as well.
Yeah.
In baskets.
Have you watched that? I hear it's great.
Yeah, I've watched a couple episodes. It's a acquired taste.
It sounds painful.
It is painful, but it's an acquired taste.
Yeah. And what he says as he looks out the window is that it's people with money that get the girls. And there's Lisa kissing Daryl. And Akeem asks, well, we must work very hard. It's like, no, he gets all his money from Soul Glow, from his dad. Back at the McDowell house, we have Lisa's sister.
Who looks like Shuri. Kind of mind-blowing.
And there's a doorbell, and there is a guard and someone delivering a package, and they open up the package, and there's a jewelry box, and inside are big diamond earrings. And like, think that's real? Couldn't be. And the sister has got an attitude about certain things, and she believes she must be fooling around because the note says, from an admirer, not Daryl.
I don't care how much a man admires you. He's not going to give you earrings like that unless you're giving him a little booty.
Not everybody thinks like you, Patrice.
Yes, they do. They just don't admit it.
we're out window washing back at the restaurant, and Semi is getting upset because he has not had sex since they got to America. And Akeem goes to talk to Lisa.
Good. Tell her you sent her the $500,000 pair of earrings, then she will fall into your arms, and we can leave this godforsaken place.
But no, he can't do that because he wants to find her way into her heart. And he goes talks to Lisa, and the sister is there, and they ask, what do you do in New York? Oh, I'm going to school. What school?
The University of the United States.
I never heard of that.
Well, it's a very small university. We do not even have a basketball team.
And they mentioned we got a ticket to this basketball game. Why don't you double date with me and Daryl?
Yeah.
Okay. At the game. Daryl is a very aggressive cheerer.
Yeah.
And he is wearing some weird stuff. I was like, what is, he's like a cloak and there's like tassels and I don't know, man.
Very strange.
Strange outfit. And this is where those jokes are just terrible.
Yeah.
You know.
Wearing clothes must be a new experience for you.
Well, he senses that Akeem is a threat to him and what he's got with Lisa. He senses that Akeem is a bit of, so he starts to do that man thing that men do when they're competing for a woman, denigrate the other guy somehow or embarrass the other guy.
Well, and it's both denigrate the other guy and just this completely ignorant horribleness about what Africa must be like.
Right.
You know, what games do you play? Chase the monkey?
Yeah, purposeful ignorance.
Horrible. And while he's kind of cutting him down and Akeem is trying to cheer and look like he knows what's going on, Patrice, the sister, slips her hand onto his thigh under his coat.
Right.
And in the middle of halftime, he leaps up saying,
Yes! Yes!
Yes! Yes! And then while still covering his crotch with his coat, he excuses himself.
Yep.
Heads off to the restroom, and while in a huge line for the restroom, someone sees him, jumps down at his ground, and starts bowing to him because, of course, he's a prince.
He's a prince.
And then brings up another friend to take his picture with him. And this is the greatest moment of his life. And as the two guys are bowing to them and walking away, who walks up but Lisa and Daryl?
Who was that?
Just the man I met in the restroom.
Great joke.
Yeah.
By the way, that actor is Bondi Curtis Hall.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of up-and-coming actors in this movie.
Yeah. Back at the restaurant, Daryl wants her to quit her job because her lady shouldn't work and he should just take care of her. And she said, he's like, I'll get anything for you. And she says, well, get me a coffee. So he heads off to get a coffee. And as he does that, Akeem kind of mops his way over and sits down and they kind of talk a little bit. And she's intrigued by him.
Yep.
You know, you're a very unusual guy. I've never seen anybody take so much pride in mopping a floor.
He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk. One cannot fly into flying. That is not mine, that is Nietzsche's.
And she says, most people don't quote Nietzsche.
Uh-huh.
And just as they're talking about Nietzsche, who walks in, but our another great actor, Sam Jackson. We've had so much movies of Samuel L. Jackson before, because we had Goodfellas, we had Jurassic Park, all right up in this, you know, in this era. And he pulls out a shotgun to rob the place. And I think we all know what's going to happen in this moment.
All right, everybody shut up and do like I say. Get the money out. Stay cool. Nobody gets hurt.
And it's funny, too, because there's another movie where a guy in a long coat pulls out a shotgun and Eddie Murphy takes him out. And that's Beverly Hills Cop at the strip club.
Yep.
And this is the same thing happens. He kind of walks up to him, talks to him.
It would be wise for you to put the weapon down.
Who the fuck is this asshole?
I've warned you. I'll be forced to thrash you.
Fuck you.
And then disarms him. He's on the ground. Semi jumps over a counter, grabs the shotgun. Sam Jackson pulls a knife. No, nothing doing.
Freeze, you diseased rhinoceros pizzle.
And the moment's over.
Yep.
It's awesome. And later on, I think Cleo, which is John Amos, is starting to warm up to them a little. He thanks this what he calls his African connection, and he invites him to the house on Sunday.
Little do they know.
Yeah. Akeem goes, see, it's working. He's seen us as equals. Yeah. Cut to the house. They're dressed as parking attendants.
Yep. And freezing.
Yeah. invites Akeem inside. Semi is not happy.
No.
He does a lot of glowering in this movie. He shows him around the house, which he's really proud of because he worked his way up from nothing. He was 9 kids living in a shack.
You know, in 20 or 30 years with hard work, maybe you could have a place like this for yourself.
Again, a great reaction from Eddie Murphy.
That would be something.
And he puts him behind the bar and says he wants to fill champagne. And the party starts. And the preacher, of course, is there. John Amos is working the room. And Daryl comes over to the bar. And he comes up to Eddie. And he's trying to save a little manhood.
Yeah.
I totally appreciate how you handled that guy. I'd have helped you out. But, you know, I had a coffee in my hand. And then again, he ruins it. It's like, do you learn that stuff fighting lions and tigers and shit?
Yeah.
Awful. And then it gets worse.
Yes. Yes, where I'm from, we have to be very aggressive.
You know, I'm all for that. Especially with women. You know, they may not admit it, but they all want a man to take charge. Tell them what to do.
Well, and this is what we said before, is that this movie is about exposing the horribleness of that sentiment.
Right.
You know, and so, because he's the bad guy, you know, and those sentiments that we already saw when we were in Zamunda are also ones of traditions that need to be changed, you know. And now John Amos wants to make sure that everyone's champagne glass is going to be full because we're going to have a very special announcement. And he asks for everyone's attention. He pulls Daryl's parents over. They're all standing up. Daryl's standing next to him. And he says,
Now, as you all know, Daryl and Lisa have been going together for quite some time.
And Lisa looks up and she is totally confused.
Well, I'm pleased to announce that just a few moments ago, Daryl here popped the big question. And Lisa happily accepted.
Again, Lisa looks not just confused, but pissed. As it turns out, this has become an engagement party. And he raises a toast to the bride and groom, and everyone toasts. This is so fucked up. What person thinks this is a good idea?
Yeah, it's probably happened a lot.
I guess.
Some people, man.
Well, he did just say that women like men to take charge and tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Well, he just did it.
Yep.
She grabs Daryl. Simi slams a couple of drinks. And Lisa and Daryl are in the room, and she just lays into him. And he tries to say something, tries to reach out to her. She's like, "Don't you touch me." And she walks out.
Yep.
And I love too, but he says, "Baby, it's our engagement party." Good comedies have good villains.
Yes.
And Daryl's a good one.
Yeah.
And she's out on a swing, and a king comes out. He brings her a jacket, very sweet. She asks him to sit down. He sits down very properly. She says, "Look, if you're going to talk to me, you're going to have to learn to relax." I love Eddie Murphy does a perfect little slump.
Yeah.
And then relaxes, and then they talk about it.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm just not going to be pressured into marriage, not by Daryl or my father or anybody.
I understand completely. In my country, they arrange many marriages, and I don't feel anyone should get married out of obligation.
You're right. I mean, how could I have even considered marrying a guy like Daryl?
I wanted the same thing.
It's a nice little scene.
Feels a connection with her in there.
Yeah. And she does too, because she says,
You know, you're very easy to talk to. I feel like I could tell you anything.
and then right as we're about to connect, out comes the sister, "We need more champagne." And I love Akeem's response.
I almost forgot that I was here in a domestic capacity.
I love the way they wrote his character, and the way he delivers those lines with that sort of heightened way of speaking.
It's very noble too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the next morning. Akeem is trying to wake Semi up, but he doesn't want to go to work. He is pretty done. And Akeem's like, "No, we can't afford to make Mr. McDowell mad. I'm making progress."
I'm sick of living like a peasant. Look at this filth.
You want to live better? Fine. Fix this place up. But you are going to work today.
And we're back at the restaurant. And Louis Anderson tells his future. It's like,
I started on cleanup just like you guys. But now, see, I'm washing lettuce. Soon I'll be on fries, then the grill. A year or two, I make assistant manager. And that's where the big bucks start rolling in.
I think he's going to make it. I have a lot of faith in Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. If Louis shows up as the owner of some conglomerate
later on
in the sequel.
Oh, my God. I hope so.
That'd be
I
great.
bet there
That'd be brilliant.
I wonder what's happened to McDowell's.
Yeah, let's find out.
I mean, I'm assuming he got some Zamunda investment.
Yep.
He probably opened up all over Zamunda.
It's probably all over the world.
Yeah. We're talking to Lisa, and she's kind of going through that she stayed with him because she was expected, and then she feels bad because she's talking so much about Daryl.
Why don't you come to my house and I'll fix you dinner? Patrice will be there.
Let us go to my house.
Why?
Well, I'd like to cook for you.
You cook?
I dabble a little, yes.
Great. Tell you what, I'll buy the groceries.
Fine. But I have to warn you. My home is very poor.
I don't care about that. I'd love to see where you live.
And there's just a great connection, great smile. It's a nice love story. Yep. And we're heading into the apartment. He talks about his humble abode. He opens up the door a crack. He looks inside, and there is Semi in a hot tub in the obviously redecorated apartment.
I don't know how he did all that in 24 hours or less.
Well, listen, if Rodney Dangerfield can turn a dorm into a suite and back to school, then I think Semi could do this as well.
I guess so. I love that movie.
It's got to be like the 5th time we brought up Back to School.
We got to do Back
We'll
to
do
School.
it. We'll do it soon, I think.
You're a melon. Yeah.
And of course, Akeem is pissed, and he goes inside. Semi has a big stack of money, which he grabs, throws it into a McDowell's bag, walks outside and says,
I am very sorry.
Can we go in now?
Oh, no, we cannot.
Why not?
There is a rat, a big rat inside.
You know what I think? I think there is no rat. I think you're just so ashamed of your apartment you can't even let me see it.
Once again, you have judged correctly.
and they're walking along the water in New York, and we see the Twin Towers in the background, which is always, every time I see it in a movie now, is always something.
It is.
And he sees a homeless guy and drops that money for them.
I love this joke. It's Mortimer.
And it is Ralph and Mortimer Duke.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Randolph.
Randolph
and Mortimer
yeah.
Duke.
The Duke brothers.
Randolph, leave me alone, Mortimer. Randolph, Randolph! Look. Mortimer, we're back.
Apparently, this was Ralph Bellamy's idea.
Oh,
that
brilliant.
he's the one who wanted to bring back the characters.
What?
And it was super cold. And these guys are in their 80s.
Yeah.
And everyone was really worried about them. And of course, Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy are having a ball.
I'm sure.
They loved it.
So now these universes are connected.
I love that.
That's what's crazy.
What I think is weird is they don't look up at Eddie Murphy and go, "It was you."
Well, because he's carrying himself completely differently.
He's not Valentine.
He's not Valentine. How great would it be if they connect them in the sequel?
Well,
like Dan Aykroyd shows up as
I would be awesome.
Yeah, or Jamie Lee Curtis too, right?
Sure.
Everything's in play at this point. I love it.
Okay.
It's a universe.
And now we have a nice, lovely dinner where they're sitting and talking, and she's asking about why he came, and he speaks very poetically, which she really likes the way that he speaks. Yeah. And then, as they're in the middle of an intimate moment,
Thank you very much. Let's have lunch.
bang, bang, bang on the window, and there are Mortimer and Randolph Duke thanking him. And she's like, "You have the craziest effect on people."
People love you. I bet where you're from, women practically throw themselves at your feet.
Why do you say that?
Because you have a kind of inner glow, like you're above anything petty. It's almost regal.
Because he's Prince.
Yep.
You know? And she asks what he does, and he comes up with goat herd.
Yeah.
A very well-educated goat herd. And the music starts, and he asks if they want to dance, and they dance to Be Loved. Mm-hmm. And it is lovely and romantic, and she asks,
What about Patrice?
I am not interested in Patrice.
What about Daryl?
I am not interested in Daryl either.
And they kiss. Over at the Western Union office, Simi has put together a telegram and gives it to the clerk, and she's like, "You really want to send this?" And he asks her to read it.
To His Majesty King Joffrey Jaffer, the Royal Palace, Zamunda. Sire, Akeem and I have depleted our funds. Kindly send 300,000 American dollars immediately as we are in dire straits. Your humble servant, Semi.
Simi,
Semi.
should I make it 400,000?
You think that'd be enough?
You are right. 500,000.
Man, they got a lot of money in Zamunda.
Well, natural minerals.
Yeah, I guess so. Back at the apartment, Patrice walks in on Semi to find out what's going on. And she sees all the stuff and she's like, what are you guys stealing? What's the deal here? Mm-hmm. We're back with Akeem, who is now singing to be loved at the top of his lungs, despite all the neighbors yelling at him. And he walks into the apartment and he finds Semi and Patrice on the bed.
Semi told me everything. Sorry things didn't work out between you and me, but you understand. Good night, sweet prince.
Because he told her he was the prince.
Yep.
Another great reaction shot from Eddie. Mm-hmm. Back at McDowell's, John Amos has got some flowers because Daryl is really working back to get in her good graces. And this is where John Amos is a complete jerk, because now does she tell him that she didn't know that he was proposing?
Probably.
And he's still saying he's a great guy?
Well, because it's about the money.
Yeah.
Look, like he told you at the beginning of or in the movie, right? He came from a shack with 9 kids. So to him, it's about upward mobility. You deal with a little bit of the hits so you get upwardly mobile.
Right.
Which a lot of parents, think.
Well, and the great thing is he's going to have a great redemptive moment later on in the movie.
Yes.
If she doesn't want to see Daryl, she's going off to a museum with Akeem, and he is not happy about that. And back to Semi, and the landlord enters, and they say, we want to change apartments.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna let you boys stay in my apartment, and I'll move up here.
Does your apartment look poor?
Yeah, it's a real shithole. You'll love it.
Outside, Akeem goes down and talks to some little kids. I have a date with Lisa. Isn't that wonderful? In love, Eddie is cute. But there's a problem. We hear that great African music, and we're cut to the police escort and a few limousines, including one that has the King of Zamunda. James Earl Jones is coming. And that is a good oh shit. And I love all the neighbors' reactions to these guys coming in. We're in the barbershop and in comes the king, who is announced by Oha. And there's some jokes about his outfit. And is that velvet?
What is that, velvet?
He says he's come for his son Akeem, and they tell him, oh, he lives upstairs on the 5th floor. They go upstairs, open up the apartment, and there's Faison in the hot tub. And they are looking for Akeem, and they see the employee in the month poster. And again, Akeem is working. And they also hear that they switch rooms and he's downstairs. So they go downstairs, knock on the door. City opens it, screams.
Semi just,
Great. Slams the door, opens it again. And of course, he came because he got the telegram.
Your only job was to look after Akeem. How could you let him come to such a pass?
Akeem will not listen to me. He's gone quite mad, Your Majesty.
And I love James Earl Jones says, you have disgraced yourself and must be punished.
You will confine yourself to our royal suite at the Waldorf Astoria.
Great reaction from Arsenio.
And see that he puts on some decent attire. And I want you to bathe him thoroughly.
Again, great reactions. Yes. At the museum, we see a mask of Zamunda. And they're talking about it, and he says she would love it. And then he sees something, he grabs her and kisses her because right next to that mask is a picture with the royal family, including him. He's like, we got to get out of here. Again, we hear the music and the limo moving, and we got John Amos on the phone talking to Daryl, saying, hey, we're going to get this back together, show up at the place tonight. And then Louis comes and says, there are people here to see you. And the people, of course, are the king and queen of Zamunda.
Yep.
And Oha introduces them. And he says, looking for my son, Akeem. Well, that's it for John Amos.
Yeah, he's good to go.
Okay.
He's changed his mind now.
Yeah, completely flips to the other side. Says that he's with his daughter, Lisa. James Earl Jones says they're at the Astoria. And he makes sure, like, tell me when you see them, but don't tell them.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to tip them off. And he hands off some, Oha hands off some money to him as like a tip.
Yeah.
And what's on the money?
Akeem.
Akeem, because he's the prince. The cab with Akeem and Lisa pull up in front of the apartment, and what do they see in front of the apartment? Is a bunch of rose petals.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. And again, he can't let her in. And he says, I'll take you home. And they go back to the McDowells. And now, John Amos is thrilled to see him.
Look who's here. Akeem, it's good to see you.
Let me get you some drinks. Let me get you some hors d'oeuvres. Let me take care of you. They're like, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
And he runs off to the phone and calls the Waldorf Astoria. I love how he talks to him.
Yeah, hello, King. Yeah, Cleo McDowell here.
Yeah.
And then comes back out. Now, of course, he has to stall them, and he is talking to them, and there is a doorbell rings. And this is see, what's interesting about this movie is it's not Eddie Murphy being funny. It's structural humor.
Yeah.
So this is a structural bit, which is the doorbell rings.
Excuse me, I'll be right back.
A piece of music plays. We cut to the dog, who gives a look. He goes to the door, opens the door. It's Daryl with flowers, slams the door closed, comes back, says it was nothing.
Well, who was that?
Jehovah's Witness. Excuse me.
The doorbell rings again. The same piece of music plays, the same cut to the dog. He goes back to the door, opens it up. I said go away, slams it closed.
Look, the girl doesn't like you anymore. Can't you get that through your greasy head? But you told me to come over.
Comes back to the thing. Now there's a knock on the door, the same music, the same cut to the dog. Happens 4 times. And the 4th time, finally, he sicks the dog on him.
Yeah.
And he falls down, and the dog is outside, and he throws a punch at the dog, by the way, as the door slams. So that's like structural comic beats. But Akeem's like, I gotta go. And
Because he senses what's going on.
Well, I don't know as much that he senses what's going on with that. Do you think he knows that Dad knows?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't think that. Didn't occur to me.
Of course. I think that's why he wants to go and short circuit it. Yeah.
I think he just is like, I had to go deal with my dad. I had to go to the hotel and talk to my father.
Right.
But you could be right. Actually, that's a good point. And Lisa's like, what's wrong? And he says,
I promise I will tell you when the time is right. But now I must go.
And Dad's got pigs and blankets, but that's not going to keep him here. And he's gone. And Dad's like, I like the boy. And Lisa's is like, what is happening? And pushes him. And he's like, not going to say. And then
he just explodes.
He's rich.
He's rich. He is rich.
What?
He's got his own money. And baby, when I tell you he's got his own money, I mean the boy has got his own money.
John Amos is hilarious. And of course, he expects her reaction to be thrilled.
Right.
She is not thrilled. She is upset. She goes to the window. We hear thunder and lightning, and she is pissed. Out back in Manhattan, Akeem gets out of the cab. He runs into the Waldorf Astoria, goes up to the royal suite, and finds Simi, who has gotten out of his bath.
Yeah.
I think he's probably much relieved.
Yes.
And he's like, where are my parents? And they're like, oh, they went to the McDowells. And he's like, well, we got to go to the McDowells. They head back at the McDowell's house. In come the royal family asking where Akeem is. And John Amos is trying to keep it all together.
He just stepped out. Probably went for a pizza. You know these youngsters.
And then I love when he talks to the queen. He's like,
I don't know whether to shake your hand or kiss it or bow or what. I feel like breakdancing.
Just weird shit.
It's weird, but funny. And he offers her a seat, puts her in the lazy boy, puts her feet up, which is somewhat shocking. Great reaction shot. Offers the pigs and blankets, but the king is not interested.
You told me my son was here.
You know, my daughter Lisa might know where he went. Akeem and Lisa have gotten quite close.
Where is your daughter? I must speak to her at once.
Goes up to the room and says, I understand you're seeing my son.
I was seeing him.
Then he must have told you about his wife in Zamunda.
He's married?
No, but he will be soon. We've already chosen his bride. So you see, he could not be at all serious about you. Akeem came to America to sow his royal oats.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Nope.
What a jerk. Just terrible. And she runs out.
But he was operating under the misconception that Akeem left him with, which is that he was going to sow his wild oats.
Well, that's not what Akeem said, though.
But it's what the king assumed.
It's
and
what he
Akeem
assumed.
didn't correct him.
True.
So there's a little bit of blame on Akeem's fault for this. But yes, he is being clumsy in this portrayal, in this approach to Lisa.
But the disrespect that Daryl shows to Africa is equal to the disrespect that the king shows to the common, quote unquote, common people of New York.
Right.
Yeah. Because what happens next is there's actually a really nice moment with John Amos kind of introducing himself to the Queen, who seems like a nice lady.
Yes.
Are you comfortable, Miss, I'm not sure what to call you. My name's Cleo.
It is very nice to meet you, Cleo. My name is Aeolion.
Like, she doesn't put on the airs that King Joffrey does.
Right.
She's kind of charmed by this strange man. I mean, I don't know that she's ever met any man like Mr. McDowell.
Well, if you regress this back to tradition, she was also from birth prepared for Joffrey.
Right.
So therefore, how much exposure has she had to the outside world? Not much. So her desire to connect with someone who's regular and human and not in service to the king, she must be enjoying that moment.
Well, this is the thing about there are people who, when raised within a certain worldview, have a very, very hard time and don't want to be confronted with people that aren't like them. They don't like it. And there are some people who, when they go out into the world, they go, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the Queen is clearly someone who was excited. Like, I think that whatever the part of Akeem that wanted to go see the world, that didn't want to be treated like royalty, that came from mom.
Yep. Agreed.
You know, because dad is like Semi. He's like, this is how it is. It's awesome. You know, because I'm the king, and why would anyone want anything different from this? Right. And anybody that is of a different social standing is obviously inferior. I mean, he doesn't care about the fact that he scared the crap out of the flower bearers when he said they would face my punishment.
Right.
It would never have occurred to the king, whereas that would have occurred to Akeem.
Yeah.
So he comes back in. Lisa comes back. She comes through, and the Queen notices she's upset and asks if she's all right, again showing her kindness. And Lisa heads out. And in comes the king, and this is the first moment that we see from John Amos a different attitude.
Yeah.
What'd you say to my daughter?
I told her the truth, that Akeem could not be interested in her.
How can you be so sure?
Oh, come now. Our son cannot consort with such a girl.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Man.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
And he calls to Oha, who pulls out the checkbook.
I know you have been inconvenienced, and I'm prepared to compensate you. Shall we say 1 million American dollars?
No way.
Very well, then, 2 million.
You haven't got enough money to buy my daughter off.
That's great.
Yep.
Because what have we seen of this character for the entire film?
He's been kind of money hungry, yeah.
All he cares about is money. And the whole film, he's been willing, I think, to deceive himself that that Lisa could be happy and there could be money there.
Right.
But the minute that his daughter is upset or hurt, fuck no.
Right.
Great. And of course, the king doesn't believe it. He says, nonsense.
Joffrey, apologize to Mr. McDowell.
I will do no such thing. The man is beneath me, and so is his daughter.
Oh.
Man.
There's an Amos Amos regresses back to that kid in the shack with 9 kids. He's like, we're going to throw down now.
Yeah. I don't give a damn who you are. This is America, Jack. Now you say one more word about Lisa here, and I'm gonna break my foot off in your royal ass.
Royal.
That is awesome.
I love Joffrey. I love James Earl Jones' eyes going up like of shock. It's such a great moment.
And I think the Queen loved this.
Yeah.
I think she loved hearing this.
I'm sure she
because you know
wanted
what?
to say it to him.
Some people need that to be said to them.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real clear.
Truth.
And then that's when the sister comes in, like wondering what's everyone yelling about. And that's when she finds out that no, Semi wasn't the prince.
You mean Akeem's the prince?
Yeah, and he's in love with Lisa.
How come she always gets the good ones?
And now, speaking of which, in comes Semi and Akeem.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole awkward scene, there are reaction shots from the dog, who somehow got back inside after being outside, but that's okay.
He finished beating up Daryl.
Good.
Well, maybe when Lisa walked through the door.
True. That's a good point. And we want to know where Lisa is.
Your daddy here just ran her off.
What did you tell her?
It is of no consequence. We shall return to Zamunda at once.
I will not leave without Lisa.
So you do care for her.
Mother, I love her.
Then go after her.
And he kisses his mother, and Joffrey forbids him to go. And what's her response?
Put a sock in it, Joffrey.
The boy is in love.
The boy is in love.
Again, a look from the dog. And out goes Akeem. We see Lisa running in the rain. Patrice goes back to her room, and Daryl enters her room, soaking wet and looking very sad.
Lisa dumped me.
Poor thing. The first thing we have to do is get you out of these wet clothes.
So I think we know where that story is going to go.
She's the true opportunist.
Yeah. And maybe they'll be very happy.
Maybe.
It's a better match than with Lisa.
Sure.
And Akeem spots Lisa. How do you spot someone in New York City?
Yeah.
That's amazing. But it's a movie. And Oha waits with the umbrella, and she runs down towards a subway, and he follows. He jumps the turnstile. We go down to the platform. She gets on the train. He gets on the train. We're in the train, and he confronts her, and he says, Lisa, please.
I did not mean to hurt you.
Well, at least I know who gave me these. Well, you can keep them, because I don't want them, and I don't want you.
He throws the earrings, and he does a nice catch.
Yeah.
A real nice catch on the earrings. And then this is a really lovely scene, I think. A very romantic scene.
What about the woman you're supposed to marry?
I do not love her. Why do you think I came to America?
Oh, your father told me to sow your royal oats.
Oh, no. I came to America to find my bride. I came to Queens to find you.
So why did you lie to me then? Why didn't you just tell me you were a prince?
Because I wanted you to love me for who I am.
And here's the thing. So we've said that Eddie Murphy had a big, big ego, particularly at this time. But he's got to be going through the same thing. I am sure women were throwing themselves at Eddie Murphy like crazy.
Of course.
But did they know him? You know, you said when we did Shawshank, people go to bed with Gilda and they wake up with me,
right?
Rita Hayworth.
Rita Hayworth.
Same with Eddie Murphy, is that they see this star, this hilarious guy, but did they know Eddie Murphy?
Right.
And I don't know if he was thinking about that when he was playing this part, but this scene is really sweet. You know, he doesn't want it to matter that he's a prince. And she goes, it shouldn't. And that's when she starts to soften a little.
Just tell me you didn't love me when you thought I was a goat herder. And I will never bother you again.
But she can't do that.
You want me to renounce my throne? I will.
And he does.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's legal to renounce your throne in a subway. I mean, it depends, I suppose, on which train you're on.
I think you have to have a witness. So they
had witnesses.
Yeah, so they're good to go.
All right, so I think we're kind of done.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't let you do that.
I do not care about my crown. All I care about is you. Marry me, Lisa.
Great reactions from all the passengers.
Go on, honey. Take a chance.
But she can't. She says, I'm sorry. And she says goodbye. And she walks out. And then there's this cute small woman who says, the offer's good. I'll marry you.
I'll marry you.
And what does he do?
Gives her the rings.
He gives her the earrings. Yeah. But she's gone. And we're outside the Waldorf Astoria and the cars are loading up and Akeem and Simi are in the back of a car, and Simi says, well, at least we learned how to make French fries, which I think is a useful skill.
Sure.
I mean, French fries are delicious.
Sure.
I don't know how McDowell's compare to McDonald's French fries. The cars pull away, and we're in the king's car, and he turns to his wife and says, you're still not speaking to me.
I only want our son to be happy.
And so do I. Alien, please. It is out of our hands. The girl told him no.
Well, after the way you treated her, who could blame her?
Even if she said yes, they still could not marry. It is against the tradition.
Well, it is a stupid tradition.
Who am I to change it?
I thought you were the king.
And a great look. Now we're back in Zamunda, and it's a wedding.
Yep.
Big, huge wedding ceremony. And we see Akeem standing there waiting and not looking very happy. The bride is coming down the aisle in what I think is a really ugly pink dress.
Wow.
It's just don't like that dress. And she arrives, and of course he thinks it's going to be the woman that he's been assigned to, and he's kind of reconciled to that, and he turns and lifts her veil, and of course it's Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah. Great reaction. Turns and looks up at his parents. Big smiles from them. They smile back, and there's John Amos standing next to the throne, which is awesome. Huge, huge kiss, and then Oha says, Your Highness, we have not come to that part yet.
Your Highness. Your Highness.
And it's after the wedding, and Akeem and Lisa are going away in a carriage, and Simi's flirting with, is it the actual person he was supposed to marry?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And Lisa asks, you're saying you'd really give all this up for me?
Of course. If you like, we can give it all up now.
Nah. and great looks from John Amos, and we go into our credits. And in the credits, of course, we end up seeing all the characters that they played. And we have one more bit in the barbershop where a Jewish guy tells this joke about the soup.
Where's the spoon?
What do you know from funny, you bastard? So we've reached the end of Coming to America. It was the third highest grossing film of the year. It was a big hit. 2 Academy Award nominations for costumes and makeup, which it did not win. And then there is a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Which is that Art Buchwald sued Paramount.
Oh, right. It was Buchwald.
Because, and it's funny. So he said in 1982.
The crotchety old
I didn't know the details. Is that in 1982, he sold a treatment to Paramount about a rich, despotic African potentate who comes to America for a state visit, and Paramount optioned it. This is the part I didn't know.
Yeah.
They attached John Landis to direct and Eddie Murphy to star in it.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I didn't know they were actually attached to it.
Huh.
It ended up in development hell, and it was abandoned in 1987 is when they finally dropped it. This movie's made in 1988.
Right.
And when Eddie Murphy calls him and says, I have an idea for a movie. They won the lawsuit. Buchwald did.
Oh, yeah.
He got $150,000 and the producer got $750,000.
That's it?
Yeah. From a movie that made probably hundreds of millions of dollars. But they did win the lawsuit.
I guess.
John, let me give my final thoughts first.
Sure.
So it's a really funny movie. It's very much an 80s movie. Some of the jokes are ones that I don't think land quite as well. But what I'm sort of fascinated by is putting this extremely funny person in the center of a movie where the jokes are all structural, and John Amos is doing a much funnier performance than Eddie Murphy is as the character of Akeem. And then you have these moments in these makeup things where he can bust out. It's funny, we talked about this way back when we did The Nutty Professor, Jerry Lewis, is that's one of the people that was one of Eddie Murphy's heroes. And doing this in the barbershop scenes, this leads to him actually doing Nutty Professor a few years later. So I think it's not my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, but I think it's a really funny movie. And it's funny in relationship to doing Blues Brothers, which is a big musical with all these numbers from John Landis.
Right.
Is you see some of that stuff in here, and you get all of these great supporting players like Arsenio Hall, like James Earl Jones, like John Amos, that are really, really good. And man, I could watch the barbershop scenes all day. I literally could watch just a whole movie of that. How about you?
I'm looking something up real quick to see if I'm right, because my thought on this is that it is the most human John Landis film ever directed by him. And I'm looking through to see.
Totally. Has to be.
I feel like it is because, and I think this is the combo of Eddie with John Landis. Eddie has this inclination to go towards the more human aspects of comedy, to find them, right? Even in 48 Hours, which is a very brutal film and has some funny moments, it's about the relationship between him and Nolte. We look at Beverly Hills Cop. Why does he even go on this adventure?
Because of this friendship.
Because his friend gets killed by these people, and then he has his other friend there to help him through, and he forms a relationship with Taggart and I forget the Judge Reinhold's character's name, but he forms a relationship. So the thing about Eddie is you bash Eddie all you want to complain about Eddie. Eddie always finds the heart in the comedy. And this film is, I think, the greatest realization of this until he does Nutty Professor. It is a fantastic film with very funny characters, but characters that could easily be stock or caricatures, but are actually very funny, lived-in characters because they get more than one scene to breathe, especially those barbershop characters. You see them in the barbershop and at the Black Awareness stuff, I half expected to see them at the wedding, but which would have been hilarious. So, but all of this is what's incredible. There's funny little humors and talking about fish out of water, and then Africa versus America, Black African versus Black American, having those kinds of things going on. Those are jokes that work, that are universal in a lot of ways. And then his story, this idea of I don't want someone to determine my life for me. Yeah. I want to determine my life for me, even in the pursuit of love. I want it to be on my terms and me figuring it out and me finding it. So he saves someone from a terrible situation in a way, and they come together and they find love. That scene, as you said, on the train, easy victory, convince her, they come together, they're in love. No, she runs away.
Yep.
So that you have that moment at the end that also redeems the parent, Joffrey. It redeems Joffrey because Joffrey's the one that probably, with his wife, went and got Lisa and apologized to Lisa and explained how much Hakeem had done this or that. And so there's redemption all around. But I think the thing about this film is the heart and the comedy is the combo. And the comedy is so fun, it's so great and so drop dead funny that you can be forgiven for missing the heart. But without the heart, the film doesn't work. And it's not, to me, the best Eddie Murphy film ever made without that heart, because that is who Eddie is, in my opinion. And Nutty Professor, like I said, kind of follows the same thing, where he does not want to be. There's all these great big comedy moments, but in the end, it's about a man who's struggling with the perception of himself, of who he is, and just wanting to find love for someone to accept him for who he is, even though he's trying to be something else. Just being himself was actually the right thing. And the same thing here. Just being himself, Hakeem, is the right thing. So I love this. I love both. I think they're companion movies of Eddie's Nutty Professor and Coming to America, where I think Coming to America is a little bit funnier. I also think the heart, though, is very similar between the two movies. So
I thought about that, of just the idea of identity. I mean, it's interesting thinking about a person who's such a good mimic, you know, and
great
point. And that he's becoming, well, and you look at Trading Places as a person becoming somebody who's different.
Exactly.
And you look at, you know, there's so much pretending to be other things that it's interesting that these movies, the two movies that have the most heart, are about being who you are.
And if you throw in Trading Places, it's a social commentary about how I could be just as successful as this white guy if I had the opportunities, but in the inner city, I don't have those opportunities because your system keeps me from not having it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So that's what we think of Coming to America. Of course, we always want to hear what you think. Take a visit to our Facebook page. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave your comments there. Subscribe to us on iTunes, on all the other places. You can buy the movie on our website, Cine-Files.net. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thecine-files. And as always, you can reach me at SR Morris on Twitter and SR Morris1 on Instagram. John, where can they reach you?
I like to give you an Instagram account now. Nice. You can find me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram as well. And as we said at the beginning here, don't forget Chicago live show, top 10 show. Go to reggieslive.com, and buy tickets there. We're doing two shows at 6:30 and 9:30 on April 11th in Chicago during Star Wars Celebration.
And that's it for this week. We will see you next time on The Cine-Files.